leaders push back in defense of Greenland. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
All the news you need to know.
This is Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
What's next? 5 days after the world awoke to the stunning news of U.S. intervention in Venezuela and the capture of Nicolas Maduro, governments around the world remain transfixed on American foreign policy. And there is renewed concern about Greenland. The focus on Greenland follows remarks from U.S. President Donald Trump a few days ago when he said, "We need Greenland." And then follow-up comments from one of Trump's top advisors, Stephen Miller. In a CNN interview, he said Greenland should be part of the United States.
The United States should have Greenland as part of the United States. There's no need to even think or talk about this in the context that you're asking of a military operation. Nobody's going to fight the United States militarily over the future of Greenland.
Greenland has been part of Denmark for centuries, and Denmark is part of the NATO alliance. Speaking in Paris, Prime Minister Mark Carney said the future of Greenland is up to the people of Greenland and Denmark.
We're partners in NATO. It is a mutual defense alliance. We can provide that security. And when we look at a couple there's basic principles here, which is self-determination of nations, sovereignty, territorial integrity. And then there is approaches that we have as partners to what we're trying to accomplish. And as NATO, we can provide security for all of NATO, Greenland included.
Later, in remarks alongside the Danish Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, Prime Minister Carney again said the future of Greenland is up to its people.
The future of Greenland and Denmark decided solely by the people of Denmark. In Greenland, we know that. It's why we cooperate, as I said at the start, and I'll finish here, why we cooperate culturally, why we cooperate economically, and why we cooperate in security.
Reports out of Washington in the last 24 hours say the White House is considering a range of options for acquiring Greenland, with the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, saying in a statement that the use of U.S. military force is always an option. There are also reports that U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told a congressional hearing this week that the United States wants to buy the territory from Denmark. Today in the British Parliament, the Prime Minister of the UK, Keir Starmer, was pressed by his political opposition in that country's House of Commons by Sir Ed Davey, the leader of the Liberal Democrats, to explain the UK's position.
But does he also agree that if Trump does attack Greenland, it will be the end of NATO? And given that frightening possibility, does he accept that the UK needs to increase defence spending more quickly than currently planned and build new alliances with reliable nations?
Mr. Speaker, let me be. The Greenland issue is obviously very, very important. I thank him for raising it. The future of Greenland is for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark, and for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark alone. And yesterday, he will have seen that I put out a statement to that effect, along with fellow allies in Europe. And of course, NATO is hugely important, the single most effective and important military alliance the world has ever known. He keeps encouraging me to sort of tug away at parts of NATO and to choose between Europe and the US. That would be a strategic mistake for our country.
Mark Rutte is the Secretary General of NATO. He used to be the Prime Minister of the Netherlands. He told CNN he's not worried about the United States annexing Greenland.
Let me approach this from another angle. We all agree that it is true that the Russians and the Chinese are more and more active in the area. When you look at Denmark, they are investing heavily in their military. And very important to say that the US has a bilateral agreement with Denmark From 1951, they had a lot of people, a lot of military in Greenland in the past. And the Danes are totally fine if the US would have a bigger presence than they have now. So I think this collectively shows that we make the same assessment, and we have to make sure that the Arctic stays safe.
Anders Vistesen is a member of the Danish parliament. He called the suggestion of the United States taking over Greenland, frankly, stupid.
Denmark landed on Greenland before anyone ever thought about making this the United States of America. So by that logic, the United States of America should go back to be a colony of the United Kingdom. But I don't see that as a very realistic outcome. And I think again and again, we are seeing this administration talking about Greenland with no knowledge about the history of the place, with no knowledge about the fact on the ground. When Denmark sold what is today the U.S. Virgin Islands, the United States signed a treaty with Denmark 100 years ago that the United States of America, accepted Danish full control over the territory of Greenland. So if the United States administration is in doubt who gave us that territory, they can just go back and look into their own records and there see that it is among all the other countries in the world, the United States who have said that Greenland belonged to the territory of Greenland belonged to the Kingdom of Denmark.
Representatives from both Denmark and Greenland are seeking a meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State, Mr. Rubio, given the comments from members of the Trump administration. The Danish Prime Minister warned earlier this week that a U.S. takeover of the territory would mean the end of the NATO alliance. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
You have questions
Now You Know with Rob Snow has the answers.
on News Radio.
The House of Commons remains quiet. MPs will not return to Ottawa for another few weeks yet, with the House set to resume sitting on January 26th. But let's take a look at the Canadian political landscape with the help of David Valentin, principal at Liaison Strategies. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
What does the federal political horse race look like right now?
Well, right now we're seeing a tie, which is a big change from the last few months. Ever since the election took place, for the most part, we've seen the Liberals sort of in a honeymoon phase, usually leading by 6, 7, 8 points in a national horse race. And now, ever since December rolled around, what we're seeing instead is a really tight race. Statistically, a tie. Sometimes they're even Steven. Sometimes someone's ahead by 1 or behind by 2. But really, it's all a wash, and we're seeing the numbers that are pretty tight right now.
So those are the top line numbers, but when you dig into them a little bit more, when you break it down, let's say geographically, what do those numbers show you?
Well, that's the right question, because geographically, it's a lot more complicated. And what we've seen for a long time now, of course, is the Conservative Party does really well in Alberta, really well in the prairies in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, and the Liberal Party does well in other parts of the country. And what that means is, because of the system we have in place with the House of Commons, you know, the Conservatives could lead by another 10 points in Alberta. It wouldn't result in any more seats. So there's a cap on how many seats they can win in Alberta, because there's only so many seats in Alberta. What we're seeing right now is the Liberals are continuing to lead in Quebec, but the Bloc Québécois is in a very strong second place right now, which is a big change from December. We're seeing the Conservatives taking the lead in British Columbia. That's a change. We've seen the Liberals leading in BC, but for the last 3 weeks now, the Conservatives are leading there instead. And in Ontario, we're seeing a pretty tight race. The Liberals are leading, but only by 4 points. Atlantic Canada, they're doing a lot better over there. But as I mentioned, there's only so many seats in Alberta. There's only so many seats in Atlantic Canada. So the Liberals could add, another 50,000 votes there. It wouldn't really change things too much.
Right. So even though it's a tie, it's still advantage Liberal. Fair enough?
Advantage Liberal, I think they would probably win a minority government if the election were held today. But, of course, there is no election today. And depending on what happens up in Parliament Hill once they come back, there could be an election this year because we're in a minority government, or maybe we'll see some more floor crossings, and there won't be an election for some time.
How accurate would it be to say younger voters prefer the Conservatives and older voters prefer the Liberals?
I would say that is highly accurate at this point. And we've seen this trend. We like to do the polling over a long period of time so we can see the trends over months and months and months rather than just relying on any one poll, which is a little less reliable. But it's been months now that the Conservatives are leading with those 18 to 34, getting their strongest scores there. And for the Liberals, it's the reverse. They're leading among those who are particularly old. Women over the age of 65 are their best performing demographic. So if you're a woman and you're over the age of 65, statistically, you're more likely to vote for the Liberals than anyone else at this point.
How are people feeling about Mark Carney? You mentioned the Liberals are still enjoying a bit of a honeymoon. What do Mark Carney's job approval ratings look like?
That's a great question. And, for the longest time since we started tracking, once Mark Carney became the leader of the Liberals, he's been in very positive territory. And, usually we calculate a net approval. We take the approval, we subtract anyone who disapproves, and we have the net score. He's been in plus 30, plus 35, plus 32. It's really gone down quite a bit. This week he's at plus 16. And so we've seen this gradual erosion of Mark Carney's approval. Now, plus 16 still means more people approve of him than disapprove of him. But what we found for a long time is that he's been able to outrun the Liberal brand. He's been more popular than the Liberal Party. What we're seeing now is that his numbers are becoming more and more and more a mirror of what Liberal support looks like. So his halo effect and the benefit to having him is diminishing by the week. And literally every week he seems to be losing another point of support. Now, that could change. People might be having a hard time during the holidays. It's a tough financial situation for some people in January. Winter can be depressing. There's all these different factors. So he could rebound. There's no reason his approval rating couldn't go up. But the trend has been now for the past few weeks that it's going down, usually about a point a week.
What do Canadians think about Pierre Poilievre these days?
Well, this is the good news for the Liberals, which is as much as people may be sort of slowly souring on Mr. Carney, they still do not like Mr. Poilievre by quite a bit more. His approval ratings have been in the net negative territory during the election. Once he lost, they went even lower. They've rebounded a little bit. He's gained 5 points here, 2 points there. But we have not been able to find in any of our fieldings any survey that shows more Canadians like him than dislike him. So he has some work still to do. That being said, he's got this leadership review coming up. So that will definitely be an opportunity for him to reintroduce himself to Canadians if he wants to take it.
David Valentin is with us, principal at Liaison Strategies. A few more questions for him when we come back about specific issues like the cost of living and how big an issue that could be in our politics in 2026. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
We're looking at the Canadian political situation right now with David Valentin. He's principal at Liaison Strategies. The cost of living was the top issue, really running away. The top issue in 2025 for most Canadians, according to most of the polls. What's new for the new year, David?
Well, it's a great question because we just released today the results of our new wallet tracker, where we are asking Canadians about their economic situation. And so we asked people, what about your household finances? How are you feeling over the last 30 days? Have they gotten better, worse? It's staying the same? Unfortunately, 37% are telling us that their finances are worse this month than last month. And that number jumps to 45% among young adults from 18 to 34. And when we ask Canadians how confident they are they can meet their financial obligations next month, well, the good news is 71% say they're pretty confident they can meet them, but 26% are not confident at all. So a lot of people are getting squeezed, and we're seeing that for young Canadians, that the primary driver is housing, and for older Canadians, the primary driver of the squeeze is groceries. So these aren't really things you can avoid. It's hard to cut back when you when your primary spending is being taken up by groceries and by housing.
What do they want the government to do about that?
Well, that's an interesting question. And there's, when we ask that question, we get a lot of different answers. Some people would prefer lower taxes. Other people would prefer higher supports for seniors because obviously if you're not making any money, you're retired, lowering taxes isn't going to help you. Other people would like to see more than on childcare. I mean, there's so many ways that you could look at different families and what might be helpful for them. But unfortunately, there isn't really one solution that would fix all the problems for everyone, as much as we might like that. So, when we ask that question open-ended, we get all sorts of responses back, some of which are doable, I think, others which are maybe a little more pie in the sky. Some people who want flat taxes, that maybe could work, but what would the rate of that flat tax be? That's another good question. Lots of different things that Canadians want the government to take a look at.
Yeah. This is also the time of year, of course, when people have made and probably by now broken their New Year's resolutions. You ask people about the New Year's resolutions of 2025 and how they did it at achieving them. You asked what was the main barrier that stopped you from achieving more of your 2025 goals. What was the most popular answer?
The most popular answer was the cost of living and money. And listen, that makes perfect sense, though I'll point out some people, even with the right amount of money, might have broken that resolution anyway. But only 1% of people told us they actually kept the resolution from last year. So if you're in that 1%, congratulations. But most people did not meet their resolution, a smaller amount. So they made some progress, but, didn't quite meet the actual goals they set out. But when you ask people, what was that big block? 75% about tell us it's money. And listen, if you're trying to get into the gym, that's the cost of a gym membership. If you're trying to eat healthier, all the time we know eating healthier is going to cost you more, right? So it doesn't surprise me as well that people gave that answer.
So are making, say, a financially related New Year's resolution, is that necessarily more popular than making other types of resolutions? I want to lose weight, I want to exercise more, I want to quit smoking, all of those things.
It's about the same when you look at health and you look at finances and you look at other things, time management. It's really pretty even, Stephen, though obviously there is, who's making the resolution. We see differences in the demographics. A lot of people this year as well telling us that they prefer to work on habits, on small changes, rather than setting this large goal. So listen, that might be a good way to get the results you want anyway. If you build a small habit, that might be more successful in the long run than trying to get to a big prize. But, whether it's finances or whether it's mental health or losing weight, it's difficult, right? And you have to make a goal and try to stick to it, even if it's a small one.
One day at a time, David, one day at a time.
That's right.
Thank you for this day. Thank you. Bye-bye. David Valentin is principal at Liaison Strategies. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Returns on News Radio.
Time for our Wednesday Newsday political panel with Brian Lilley back with us from the Toronto Sun. How are you?
I'm well, sir. How are you? Happy New Year.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, Happy New Year to you. Brian as well. So starts another one. And Professor Laurie Turnbull is back with us from Dalhousie University in Halifax. Hello, Professor. How are you?
How are you? Oh, I'm doing great.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well. Professor, let's start with you. What have you thought about the reaction from our political leaders, Prime Minister Carney, Pierre Poilievre, about the U.S. move on Venezuela?
Well, I mean, Mr. Poilievre certainly was out front early and indicated his support for the move, his support for regime change in Venezuela, and he was supportive of Donald Trump. He seemed to be completely positive about this, and then a lot of conservatives, it seemed to me, jumped onto social media to say basically the same thing. So he wasn't alone in coming out in support of the move. It seemed to me that the Prime Minister took a long time to react. It took most of the day, and then when he did, it seemed the response was very careful. It was like tiptoeing around President Trump, trying not to make him upset, indicating that that we had issues with President Maduro. Good to see him go. And I think for a lot of people, we're looking for a stronger response in terms of sovereignty, rule of law, international law, and that didn't come. But I think at the same time, people can understand why.
Okay, just before we get to Brian, on the Poilievre remarks, do you think that his remarks were, say, out of step with public opinion in Canada? What would you say?
I think that it's possible that it came across as too strong an endorsement of President Trump and the method by which this happened. I think that it would be hard to find anybody who would have wanted to see a continuation of the Maduro regime. It's not that. But Poilievre's reaction, it seemed to me, did not make a distinction between the action in terms of Maduro and then the complexities around sovereignty and international law, and frankly, the president's willingness to violate that. And so there was no complexity, no inclusion in perspective in the analysis. It seemed, in the reaction, it seemed to me, he just went full on in support.
Hey, Brian, what do you think?
Well, I mean, Mark Carney yesterday called Maduro's ouster welcome news. He has not said anything negative about it. And if we're going to, chastise politicians for saying something nice about President Trump when he does something right, and this was 100% right. I keep hearing about international law, but, the international community had condemned Maduro for stealing 2 elections, for staying in power, for using brute force, for oppressing his own people. What good is international law if we just sit by and watch folks like Maduro stay in power, using an intelligence and army apparatus to stay in power, to oppress his own people, to transport drugs around the world? The Biden administration had put a $25 million bounty on getting him arrested. The only difference between Biden and Trump is Trump finally acted, and I think that's not to say Biden wouldn't have. I think it's that he acted due to issues that happened over the past several months that had increased American concerns. And I can't think of a single U.S. president that wouldn't have conducted a similar type of operation. So I have no problem with what Poilievre said. And as far as politicians wanting Maduro to stay in power, I think look to Don Davies and the NDP, or Avi Lewis, who appears to be their next leader. They're very upset about this. And, they're essentially cheering for a dictator. They wanted the dictator to stay in power. I think you'll find that most Canadians are fine with Maduro being gone, as is Prime Minister Carney.
I mean, Professor, is it not understandable that Mr. Poilievre reacted the way that he did, just given the makeup of his family and who his wife is and who his in-laws are?
Oh, for sure. I mean, this isn't just, an issue that happens for politicians that's far away. I mean, this is a very personal thing for Mr. Poilievre, I would imagine. And I think that certainly would be on his mind when he gave his reaction. But I think also, if you look at the history of Conservative Party, reactions to foreign policy and to taking a strong stance when there's a leader who is holding on to power through nefarious means, I think that the Conservatives have been consistent over time in terms of being on the side of, let's do what we can to absolve this. Let's do what we can to solve it. And so I think that, in addition to the personal side of it, I think it's not surprising, given the party position on it, that Poilievre would react the way he did.
Brian, any comment on that?
I think his wife being from Venezuela, her family being refugees who fled, although long before Maduro, but during another period of time with horrible leadership. It's understandable. Look, I'm happy Maduro is gone. My concern is what happens next, both from a Canadian point of view, but also from a Venezuelan point of view. Do the Americans get it right? Do they spend 15 years doing disastrous nation building like they did in Afghanistan? Most likely not. Venezuela is a much different country than Afghanistan. There are people alive there who still remember prosperity and freedom and democracy, because they used to rival Canada in all of those things, and then they took the wrong turn. A great show that elections have consequences. So That's where my concerns are, not with how they dealt with Maduro.
Okay. When we come back, we'll talk about Greenland and the Trump administration's talk about Greenland. What does that mean for Canada? I'm Rob Snow. Brian Lilley is with us. Professor Laurie Turnbull from Dalhousie University. Brian, of course, with the Sun Papers. And this is News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
With our Wednesday Newsday political panel, Brian Lilley here from the Sun Papers, Professor Laurie Turnbull from Dalhousie University. Brian, what do you think about what you're hearing from Trump and members of his administration about their desire to have Greenland?
I think that what they're actually looking for is either to buy it, which is what Marco Rubio told a session of closed-door session of members of Congress on Monday, is that they're going to look to buy Greenland, or they want more control in terms of access to Greenland for defense, more cooperation for defense. This is something that they've talked about for a long time. This is something I had an extensive interview with Steve Bannon on last year, who is Donald Trump's former chief advisor in his first term in the White House. They see it as crucial to North American defense that they be able to either shoot down missiles that are coming across the Arctic or control shipping lanes between Greenland and Iceland. By the way, the Russian oil ship that was seized today by the Americans coming from was seized in that area after a 2-week hunt. So I've never believed this. They're going to invade. And, the Jake Tapper, Steve Miller interview, I think, was milked by both of them this week. And that is what got a lot of the people saying, well, they're going to invade and that will destroy NATO. Like, the thing with Trump is you have to calm down and listen for the signal and not the noise. And there's a lot of noise around this. What do they actually want? Better defense capabilities for North America in an area that at this point, because it's so sparsely populated, is vulnerable.
What do you think, Professor Turnbull?
President Trump has been talking about Greenland for a while, and he talks about it in terms of acquisition. And so he really kind of seems to skip over the whole concept of sovereignty altogether and goes right to the sort of business-oriented mergers and acquisitions kind of lens to see everything. And he's been talking about, his Donroe doctrine and control in the Western Hemisphere. And I don't think he has a problem thinking this stuff through at all. I mean, I don't get it. He says that military intervention is potentially on the table. Nothing's off the table. I don't necessarily see that as being around the corner in any way. I do agree with Brian, like listening for the signals rather than the noise. I think it is important. And if we react to everything he does, it's exhausting and it's not really going to get us anywhere. But I do think that, everybody, I think he's talked about Greenland. He's talked about Canada too. And I get the point around defending from the north, but at the same time, it's not about hemispheric control. Like, we are a sovereign country, and I think Canada has to take this with a certain amount of seriousness, because I never thought he was joking when he was talking about annexation.
Okay, nice segue there. What does this mean for Canada? I want to run this by you. This was in an opinion piece in the Globe and Mail by two academics this week, a scenario that they call a scenario for U.S. military coercion of Canada. Military coercion of Canada. Let me just run this by you. I'd love your thoughts on this. Quote, a plausible scenario for U.S. application of military force against Canada to seize our oil resources goes something like this. An independence referendum in Alberta during which separatists receive a huge infusion of gray MAGA money sees a majority vote to remain part of Canada, but with 30% or more voting for separation. Mr. Trump declares the result is fake and that actual support for separation was well over 50%. Alberta separatists appeal to the United States for help, claiming various kinds of oppression. The United States moves troops to the northern Montana border, tells the rest of Canada that Alberta must be allowed to join America as the 51st state. And these researchers say this is the sort of scenario that the Canadian government needs to game plan for. Brian, what do you think of such a scenario?
One of these guys is a former advisor to a foreign affairs minister in the Liberal government. I believe it's to former Minister Anita Anand. And the other is a longtime thinker and academic. It is beyond ridiculous. Would Trump like us to have some sort of union? Sure. Do Canadians want it? No. So what did he say the last time he was asked about it sitting next to Mark Carney? I wrote about this the other day. He said, yeah, I still believe that, but it takes two to tango, right? It takes two to tango. So he said, here's why I think it would go, but they don't want it, so that's how it's going to be. And then he went on to talk about how he loves Mark Carney and Mark Carney is doing a great job. The idea that what happened to Nicolas Maduro, who was letting Chinese take over, Venezuela in some ways through the Belt and Road Initiative and others becoming a client state of China, Russian military advisors on the ground, Iran transferring technology to build unmanned aerial vehicles that can hit Florida into Venezuela, and all the drug stuff. Comparing that to Alberta separation, or the Toronto Star today has a piece saying Doug Ford better watch his back. He could get kidnapped at Queen's Park. Come on.
I didn't see that.
Serious.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I can't believe the Star published that. Let's be serious for a minute.
Okay. Well, Professor, please weigh in. We don't have much time here, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree with the point that there would be a flow of gray money. There's no question about that. And there'd be a lot of interest in the U.S. in a possible sovereignty vote in Alberta. That said, I don't see this as a massive crisis that the government needs to be worried about right now. I think Donald Trump changes his mind all the time. I don't know, he says, sure, like it takes two to tango. Who knows what he'll say next week? Who knows what he'll say if Carney does something to tick him off? But it just doesn't keep me awake at night right now.
Okay. All right. When we come back, we'll get some predictions from our panelists again. We did this yesterday. It was a lot of fun. Short answers only on our 2026 political year ahead. This is News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Here with Brian Lilley and Professor Laurie Turnbull. Let's get some 2026 political predictions out of our panelists today. Short answers only, just a few words. Brian, will there be another floor crossing this year?
Yes, although the NDP MP for Nunavut just ruled it out for now.
Professor Turnbull, floor crossing, you expect more floor crossings? You
100%,
do?
Yep.
100%. Okay.
Yep.
It's we're about 3 weeks away from the convention in Calgary for the Conservative Party and the leadership review of Pierre Poilievre. What percentage of support, Professor Turnbull, do you expect Poilievre to get at that convention?
85.
85.
Like
North
85.
of 80 is a very, very popular figure so far. Brian, what do you think?
I'm only thinking between 70 and 80, but I haven't zoned in on a number yet.
Okay. Who will win the NDP leadership? You think it's going to be Avi Lewis, Brian? You said earlier.
Oh, yes, and then Audrey McLaughlin, levels of success.
Okay. Why do you think Avi Lewis, just very quickly, why do you think Avi Lewis?
Not name recognition and like a very slight level of Canadian celebrity in him.
Okay. Professor Turnbull, who do you see with the edge in that race?
I agree, but I think he's going to have to win it on the first ballot. I think he's one of those candidates. He's going to be a lot of people's first choice, maybe nobody's second choice, and so he's got to kind of go big or go home in the first ballot.
Oh, good point.
Is it a done deal that the Parti Québécois forms the next government in Quebec? This is election year in Quebec. Brian?
It's either that or the leader resigns and starts dating Katy Perry, so yes.
Professor Turnbull, what do you think?
I can't top that. I'm just going to say yes. Yeah, I agree.
You're just going to say yes. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about the center of the universe, where Brian is, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, where it will be the election year. Olivia Chow will seek re-election. I assume Brad Bradford, city councillor with, I guess he has some PC support. He's going to run. But who's going to win? Who's going to be mayor of Toronto after that election is all said and done, Brian?
I've talked to 2 of the candidates today. I'll talk to the 3rd tomorrow, and I don't know. It's tight.
It's tight. Okay. Is there going to be a split on the conservative side, or what amounts to what conservatism looks like in Toronto?
Well, in Toronto, it's the Liberals and Conservatives together or the NDP. And yet, I think John Tory's still in, Brad Bradford's in, which would give Olivia Chow the edge.
Okay. Professor Turnbull, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not convinced that Olivia Chow is going to run again. I'm not sure. And I also think that Brad Bradford's numbers will come up if he, when the campaign gets on in earnest. I think he'd be a quite good campaigner. And so I think it'll be even closer than the polls would suggest right now.
Okay. Great to hear from both of you. A lot of fun. And we'll speak soon. It's going to be a dynamite year in Canadian politics. Always enjoy your insight. We'll speak soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Brian Lilley is with the Toronto Sun. Professor Laurie Turnbull from the Political Science Department at Dalhousie University in Halifax. Talkback is coming up next, right after the latest breaking news here on News Radio.
It's time to talk back
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. It's 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. Today's topic, something a little different. Dogs. Dangerous dogs. Bad dog owners. There are stories in the news from time to time about this issue. They make national news. There is one such story today out of Nova Scotia, southwestern Nova Scotia, small community called Welshtown around the Shelburne area. Terrible story. Just a terrible story of a 13-year-old boy in the 8th grade. He was biking along a rural road and he was set upon by 3 large dogs. And they attacked him and he has died as a result of his injuries. The RCMP is not saying much about this case. It has not said, for example, what breed of dogs these were, other than they were a large breed. It has not said how these dogs came to be roaming free in this area. It has not identified the owner of the dogs. And so far, no charges have been laid. Suffice to say, details are hard to come by. Now, I will say, no news outlet has confirmed this. I have not confirmed this, but it's all over social media. It's all over Facebook. It's all over the Nova Scotia subreddit that these dogs were cane corsos. Okay. Again, that's social media, not news outlets. It's in social media. Cane corsos, very large breed of dog, very powerful, bred for protecting livestock, an Italian Mastiff type of dog, often described as the Italian pit bull. The dogs in this case have since been put down. About a month ago in Toronto, and I remember covering this story at the time and asking our callers about it at the time. About a month ago in Toronto, a woman was sentenced to 340 days in jail, 3 years probation, and banned from owning dogs for 10 years. She took her dog, an American pocket bully, another imposing looking breed, powerfully built. She took that dog to an on-leash park, let the dog off the leash, and right after that, it attacked a 9-year-old boy, and he needed surgery. The owner of that dog didn't even stay around. She fled the scene. The authorities had her picture on a security camera, and the police eventually tracked her down days later. It came out later that she had trouble with that dog before, in fact, 3 times. And she had already been ordered to have that dog muzzled every time she left the house with the dog. And she just totally ignored that order. And she pleaded guilty to criminal negligence causing bodily harm. So a criminal offense, very rare. And as I say, about a month ago, sentenced to 340 days in jail. Our listeners in Calgary maybe remember a story out of that city a couple of years ago involving an 86-year-old woman who was tending to her garden, and she was mauled to death by 3 pit bull type dogs that belonged to a neighbor. The neighbor pleaded guilty to a pair of local bylaw charges. Not criminal charges, was eventually fined $18,000, was given a 15-year ban on owning any dogs. No criminal charges were ever laid in that case. The man was actually later found to have violated the ban on his owning any dogs after it was learned he had 2 more dogs living at his home. So some questions for you about this. And our phone lines are open right now, 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. Are some dog breeds just too dangerous to own? Like pit bulls, or pit bull type dogs, or cane corsos, or other breeds of dogs. What about Rottweilers, Dobermans, German Shepherds? Should some breeds of dogs be banned? What would you say? 1-833-668-2577. In Ontario, there's been a ban on pit bulls. It's been in place for years, going back to when Dalton McGuinty was the Premier of Ontario. Premier Ford promised to relax some of those restrictions, but then he backtracked after a high-profile dog attack that involved a pit bull type dog. I will say that ban does not seem to have done much. You still see pit bull type dogs all the time, all across Ontario. It seems to have had little to no effect at all. No other provinces have a province-wide breed ban. But the question is raised whenever there are stories like this Nova Scotia story. Why do people need dogs like pit bulls or cane corsos? Of all the dog breeds, why would anyone want to own a dog like that? In Halifax and in Calgary, the breed of dog has nothing to do with anything when it comes to animal bylaw enforcement. It's all about the behavior of the animal. In Kitchener and the surrounding area, it's different because of the provincial law, the provincial pit bull ban. Local animal control in that part of the country has no choice but to enforce the government's pit bull ban. But there are those who support banning the ownership of certain types of dogs, and there are many who don't. Where do you come down on that? Banning the ownership of certain breeds of dogs. A breed ban. 1-833-668-2577. And here's another question. Do you think the penalties are severe enough? When a dog attacks a person and causes a severe injury or even death, are the penalties severe enough? In the Calgary case, for example, where the woman was mauled to death by 3 pit bull type dogs, the dogs were put down, fines in the thousands of dollars, an ownership ban put in place and violated. But that seems to be how a lot of these cases go. Dogs euthanized, owner fined under a local bylaw, and the person banned from owning any animals. Is that severe enough punishment for negligent dog owners? Share your opinion. Is there such a thing as a bad dog breed? Are some dog breeds more dangerous than others? Or does it all come down to the owner of the dog? And if it's a bad dog owner, then it's going to be a bad dog. 1-833-668-2577 and our call-in line today. If you've never called before, just mention that. We'll make your call a priority. Let's talk about dangerous dogs and bad dog owners. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. It's Talkback today on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
On dangerous dogs and bad dog owners, should certain breeds of dogs be banned? Pit bulls, often raised, pit bull type dogs, cane corsos. Are the penalties for negligent dog owners severe enough? Is there such a thing as a bad dog? Are some dog breeds more dangerous than others? Or does it all come down to who owns the dog, the owner of the dog? Bad dog owners. 1-833-668-2577. Let's go to Randy. He's up first today on Talkback. He's in Calgary. Hi, Randy.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
Very good, Randy. Yeah. On banning certain breeds of dogs, what do you think about that?
I don't necessarily think that it's the breed. I do believe that breeders should also be held responsible because there's so much inbreeding with certain breeds. But dog owners, I think, are really liable for what their animal is capable of.
Okay. And do you think then, if it comes down to, say, the owner of the animal, when the animal does something terrible, are the penalties severe enough? What do you think?
I think it's obviously case by case, but the harsher the offense, the harsher the penalty should be. And repeat offenses, like if you know your dog is capable of harming a person or a child or an elder, then there should be harsher criminal offenses because you have the knowledge of that.
Okay. Do you think some dog breeds are more dangerous than other dog breeds?
I've seen, it's hard because I've seen really nice pit bulls that are very family oriented, and then I've seen some awful pit bulls that are in survival mode and just attack all the time. So I don't necessarily believe that it's the breed.
Right. That it's more of the owner, and the environment that the owner is raising that animal.
Yeah, and the breeding. So if they're inbred, I find they tend to have more issues.
More problems. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. You've got us off to a good start today, Randy in Calgary. Let's go to Jim is in Nova Scotia. Hi, Jim.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, very good, Jim. How are you?
I'm doing great. Are you a dog
That's
owner,
good.
Rob?
I am a dog owner. Yes, I am. Yeah.
There you go. Then you're going to answer the same question as I would ask you. There's no dog that's a bad dog.
No dog's a bad dog?
Well, you make your dog, your animal, you love your dog. I can turn any dog into a sookie baby. Some of the dogs are big and scary, but they're still teddy bears, man. You can take a Rottweiler and make a big pet of it, or you could turn a Rottweiler into a savage beast, right? To ban a breed of dog, that's like saying let's ban Muslims from Nova Scotia or something like that, and everybody's like, oh my God, you can't do that. That's politically incorrect. Well, it's that way when you breed a dog. A dog is an animal. Hey, you leave your wife and your dog in the trunk and come back in an hour. Who's going to be happy to see you? Sure as hell ain't going to be the wife.
Well, I don't know. Why is it, for example, when they keep track of statistics, there are a number of websites that do this, dog bites, dog attacks. Why is it always there's a disproportionate number of pit bull attacks? Do you think?
Because a pit bull can be a vicious dog. And a lot of the idiots in the world that are, pardon my French, drug dealers and all that shit that don't want people around their property, they train these dogs to be savage. And these dogs get savage, and after a while, they get rid of the dogs, and some other innocent person gets this dog, and this dog is in a killer mode, and they don't know it, right? If you take any dog and you raise it from a puppy, it's a sookie baby, unless you're an idiot yourself. You know that.
So again, you think a lot of it comes down to the owner of the dogs, okay, which is fair and valid point. Do you think, for example, when we have a story like this in your province, here's what we usually hear: fines, the dog gets put down, and there's a ban on owning animals. Is that enough?
Yeah. No.
Is that enough?
For one, you got to find out why that dog attacked. I'm very sorry. A very horrific thing happened down in Shelburne. Very, very horrific. I'm I'm a father myself. I can't even begin to imagine this. But the first thing I would go after is the owners to see why this dog attacked this child on this bicycle.
Well, I would have many questions. What are three large breed dogs, roaming this area? I understand it's a fairly rural area, but still, that doesn't mean animal control. Yeah, it doesn't mean animal control is out the window and it's a free for all. However, right? So.
Exactly. You know what? I have an invisible fence in my property to keep my dogs safe. It's no different than someone having a cat, letting their cats or dogs run out in the roads and they get run over by the car. and they feel bad. Oh my God, my cat get hit by a car. If you love your cat, keep it indoors. If you love your dog, keep it on your property, right? It's a responsibility. Its owner's responsible. Like these guys that are getting attacked, some of these dogs have attacked other people in the past. And they're, like you said, that girl that had 2 or 3 other incidents that the dog attacked somebody, and then they kind of got loose and attacked.
Yeah, and still, to your point, there she was with that dog in a park, unmuzzled, where the dog is not supposed to be off the leash, and she took it off the leash. It's just total flagrant disregard of any rules. What do you do about a person like that? 1-833-668-2577. Dogs and the people who own them today on Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Should certain breeds of dogs be banned, like pit bulls, like cane corsos? Are the penalties for negligent dog owners severe enough? Is there such a thing as a bad dog? Does it all come down to the owner of the dog? What would you say? Rob in Calgary is up next. Hi, Rob. Good to hear from you, Rob. Hi, Rob. Yeah.
Yeah,
What'd
I
you
don't
say,
think
Rob?
I don't think dogs should be licensed. Owners should be licensed. I think before a person gets a dog, should actually have to take some kind of a training socialization course, because I've owned dogs all my life, and people look at a Saturday Evening Post, that definitely dates myself, and they see a dog laying in front of a fireplace. Oh, I think we'll get a dog in front of our fireplace, but they don't realize all the work, all the time, and all the effort it takes to get them socialized, get basic training. I'm saying you're not going to have a dog that, can do tricks and jumps and enter the smart dog contest. I'm saying just basic training. And I think that's the thing, is that people don't understand what it takes to raise a dog. And I have big dogs. They've ranged from 125 pounds. The one I have now is 70 pounds. But, they've all been pussycats. I mean, if someone broke into my house, they'd show them around and tell them where the goods were. But that's the thing, is that people, I don't think, really understand the work, the effort, the time to train them properly. And you can, take, and all my dogs have not come from breeders. The last 4 have come from rescue organizations, and they've been all 1.5 to 2 years old, so they've gone through. And I'll tell you, when you get a rescue dog, there's always things that you have to workarounds, because something's happened to them. Well, like the dog I have right now is very head shy. So something's happened with him by the previous owner, grabbing him, pushing him. He wouldn't go into a back of a car. I'd, open a hatchback, put treats in there. He wouldn't go near it. I walk around the side of the car. I thought I'd get him through the passenger door. He hops in. So, and now I find other things. He won't come in the back door. I walk away from the back door. He comes in. So something's happened to the dog, and maybe that person should have had some training, some understanding, and how to, deal with the dog. So this is the things that.
Do you think something like that could be enforced? I was thinking about that today in preparation of the show. Could you have something like a mandatory dog, you call it a socialization course, a dog training course, very basic, I guess.
Yeah.
Could you? I wonder if you could. Is something like that enforceable? I'm wondering how feasible that is.
Well, it'd probably be a black market on dogs that people sell them to them, even though you don't have the certificate. But I really think that people should understand what it takes, what it costs, and the time it takes to have a dog. And I mean, my dog's been great. One of them was a Rottweiler Shar-Pei, which both breeds can be a little bit obnoxious. They were loved by everybody. I walk them off Leash Park at Nose Hill every day. No problems.
No problems.
Yeah,
but it took a lot of effort. It took a lot of effort on your part to get them to that point. Is your point? And it would seem some owners are just not willing to put in that kind of effort. I appreciate your call today. We're getting hauled off the stage here. I have to bring you the latest breaking news. It'll be our pleasure to do that coming up, and then right back to your calls dangerous dogs and bad dog owners on Talkback today on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Talking about dangerous dogs, bad dog owners today, whether certain breeds of dogs should be banned, pit bull type dogs, cane corsos. Are the penalties for negligent dog owners severe enough? Fines, dogs euthanized, bans on owning animals. Does it all come down to the owner of the dog? What do you think about this? 1-833-668-2577. I believe there are two lines available there. To Cambridge, Ontario today, Sean. Hi, Sean. You're on Talkback.
Hi, good afternoon. I promise to be nice today.
Okay, that's good, Sean. You and I will get the year off to a good start together. That'll be good.
Yeah. I think quite often it does come down to the owner. I mean, there's dogs and there's dogs. Like, if you have a badly behaved Chihuahua, for example, it's annoying. But if you have a badly behaved German Shepherd or Cane Corso, you have a problem. I think some breeds, such as pit bull type dogs, do attract a certain type of person. The way, certain types of cars or trucks are type people. It's unfortunate. Maybe people that choose to buy certain types of dogs need to be evaluated before they can purchase said dog. Like the previous gentleman said, I've owned the German Shepherd, and the German Shepherd was a big baby. But I know that if that dog had been treated badly, it could have been a dangerous dog. But the problem is you can't guarantee everybody's going to be a responsible owner. Simple as that.
Now, Sean, you're in Cambridge, so you're in Ontario. This pit bull ban that has been in effect I lived for 30 years in Ontario. I don't live in Ontario anymore, but do you get the idea that this has had any impact at all, this ban on pit bull type dogs?
I have not noticed any difference. The problem is it's very hard to establish what, in fact, a pit bull is. I mean, there's the American pit bull breed, but apart from that, how do you establish what a breed of dog is? I mean, the genetics are, like a breed is a breed. It's all very hard to lay a finger on. You can go to the Canadian Kennel Club and get a ruling, but apart from that, it's very difficult to say, this is a pit bull, unless it's an American pit bull. So try taking that to court.
Okay. Do you think, though, that some dog breeds are more dangerous than others? Say, a lab, say, versus a Rottweiler. Do you think?
Yeah. Well, yes, I do. Some breeds do have a propensity to aggression. I did see this funny cartoon where it said, time for a dog to decide to attack. Rottweiler, like 2 seconds, German Shepherd, 4 seconds, Golden Retriever, 10 to 12 days, for example. Some dogs are just naturally more aggressive because they've been bred for certain roles. Like a German Shepherd was bred as a working dog. Simple as that. They're used by the police, they're used by the military. That being said, like I said, I've had a German Shepherd that can be trained to be quite good dogs. I think we need to look at who owns the dogs versus banning the dogs outright. If somebody's irresponsible, it's like gun ownership. You don't want idiots owning them.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. Good to hear your voice again. You can call back anytime, as long as you're nice. Elise in Halifax. Elise.
Hi.
Hi there. What's your opinion?
I don't think you should ban dogs based off of crappy owners and not being able to train your dog properly. Any dog can be vicious. I've been around vicious Chihuahuas, and friends of mine had pit bulls, Rottweilers, German Shepherds, all throughout my life, and they were the most sookiest animals you could ever imagine. They were just so happy to come and sit on your lap and just have you pet them. And just to ban a dog because people can't train it properly is just absolutely ridiculous. And if you cannot train your animal properly and it bites somebody, and unfortunately that person loses their life, like what happened yesterday there, I'm sorry, then the owner should have to face jail time because you did not train that animal properly.
Yeah. So, the negligent dog owner penalties, it's very, I've been covering these stories for a very long time, particularly around the pit bull ban in Ontario. It would seem to me, this case, for example, in Toronto that I mentioned where the woman was actually sentenced to 340 days in jail. That's very rare.
Not long enough.
That's very rare.
Not long enough, in my opinion,
Not long
because
enough.
she was already told, you can't do this. So her getting a year in jail, not enough time.
Not enough time. Okay. You'd like
So
more
maybe
severe
harsher,
penalties for the owners.
Jail time, I guess.
Yeah. And you're opposed to specific breed bans.
Pardon?
You're opposed to specific breed bans.
Yeah.
Yes.
And,
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
If you're going to clip a dog's ears and make it look that much more vicious, I'm sorry, you shouldn't have an animal, regardless of what kind of animal it is, because that is what you are trying to do. You are trying to turn that into a vicious animal.
Okay. Thank you, Elise, for your call. And we'll stop here. 3-4 lines available there. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. Is there such a thing as a bad dog? Or does it really all come down to the owner of the dog? If the owner of the dog is not going to put into the work, then the outcomes will be on full display. 1-833-668-2577 to have your say on dangerous dogs and bad dog owners. Today on Talkback on News Radio. Is there such a thing as a bad dog? Are some dog breeds more dangerous than others to the extent they should be banned? Or is it all about who owns the dog? In the Annapolis Valley of Nova Scotia, Jack is on the line. Hi, Jack. Thanks for calling.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, you're welcome. What's your opinion, Jack?
Oh, thank you so much. I really, they're animals, right? And they have a propensity to be aggressive, or they can be calm. I've had a couple incidents down here in the Annapolis Valley, like I have a small dog, and they will, like if another dog comes at them, regardless of the size of them, they will protect me, right? My dog will protect me. He weighs like 30 pounds, right? I don't think there's a bad dog. I think it's in, I have to go back and I'm listening to the callers that are calling, and they're saying that the key word is they're animals. They're animals, right? So if they see some sort of aggression coming towards myself, or if I'm walking my dog, do you understand what I'm saying?
Do you think that some dog breeds, though, are more dangerous than others?
I really like talking to you, Rob, because you actually listen. No, I think if an owner of a dog is calm, if they are a calm person, the dog is going to get that. The dog is going to, regardless if it's a German Shepherd, a Pit Bull, or a Rottweiler, they're going to pick up the psychology of the person that owns the dog, right? Get me?
Yes, I do. It's just whenever there are stories like this terrible story in your province, there will be calls from some people who will say, well, why does somebody need to own dogs like that? Maybe those dogs should be banned. We have had a ban in Ontario. There's been a ban in Ontario for almost 20 years. Now, to me, it has had little to no impact because there are still pit bulls all over the place in Ontario. Pit bull like dogs, pit bull crosses, pit bull mixes. But those calls might get renewed again today because of this terrible story. I'm just wondering, what do you think about that?
I'm going to digress. I'm going to go back again. They're animals. If they, and I get that, they see a child, and that's unfortunate that a little boy was killed by those 3 dogs. I don't know the breed, but it's put a fence around your yard, right? You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, that's one of the questions that certainly news reporters will have. Is certainly one of the questions I would have is, how did it come to be that these 3 dogs, large dogs, were roaming around free in that area? Have to take some other calls. I thank you for your call from the Annapolis Valley today. To Calgary now. West is in Calgary. Hi, West.
Hey, Happy New Year, Rob.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you too, West. Thanks for the call today. What's your opinion here?
I don't think there's anything called a bad dog, just bad dog owners. And a lot of it comes from ignorance, and some of it just is poor judgment. So the big thing that people have to realize when you get a dog, especially a puppy, it's important, the bonding process. And you have about maybe 6 months. Everything that dog learns in the first 6 months of its life, probably 80% of it, it's going to stick. So, for example, if you don't have a dog that bonds to you and it bonds to other dogs, then you have a pack mentality, and that's where you get into these big problems where they chew up dogs or other people. So what you want to do is bond the dog to you. And I've had 5 dogs now, all labs. But I don't sit there and take the bonding process lightly. It's a very important part. And when
why do you think though, people, West? If I could just interrupt, West. If I could just interrupt, I'm sorry to interrupt. Why do you think we hear stories from time to time about dog attacks, and the owner says, "I don't understand. The dog is usually so kind and gentle, and I've never had problems. I never saw this. I never thought something like this would happen." And the story is, out of the blue, the dog snapped, became aggressive, and attacked either a person or another animal. Why do you think that happens?
Bad dog training.
Bad dog training.
Bad dog environment. Could be ignored. I don't know. But I can tell you this, that the dog bonds for you for 6 months. Chances of that happening are probably remote.
Okay, thank you for your call in Calgary today, West. Got to move along here. Bring you right up to date on everything that's happening. Be right back to more of your calls. And we're talking about dogs today. Are there bad dogs, or are there only bad dog owners? This is Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
And there's been an update on this story out of Nova Scotia, the fatal dog attack. Our colleagues at 95.7 News Radio in Halifax reporting now that the RCMP have revealed that the dogs involved, 2 Cane Corsos, 1 Rottweiler. Just to bring you up to date on the latest information there. Adam is in Prince Edward Island today. Adam.
Hello.
Hi, Adam. Yeah, hi, Adam. Good to hear from you today.
Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I agree 99% with all your previous callers, right? Everybody's saying you treat your dog good, you train them good. I've had dogs since I've been a little child, and I'm in my mid-50s. I have a little 30-pound dog now, and the best thing I've done for him, when I got him as a puppy, took him for puppy training. And
Sure.
He was in puppy training with all other little dogs and other dogs they didn't pass their first round of puppy training, so they're back for their second round.
Had to go to summer school, I guess. Yeah, summer school.
Well, yeah, it was over Christmas, but anyway. But yeah, so they're back. Yeah, you get it. So, and that's the best thing. The best thing. And I've had big dogs, and I've had little dogs. I've had yappy dogs, and
okay.
This time around,
Adam, if I could just jump right in there. You know, you say you've owned all kinds of dogs. Have you ever owned a dog that the breed had a kind of a reputation? Have you ever owned a Rottweiler or a German Shepherd or a dog like?
Not a Rottie, but the biggest dog I owned was an English Bulldog, and he was 100 pounds all day long, and he looked like Snorton Norton, right? But he would do nothing but lick you, right?
Right.
And super, super friendly. And I've had roommates that I rented room to, and he's scared of him, right? Not until he got to know him. And I'm like, he's not going to bother you. I'm like, he's going to jump up on the couch. Mind you, he'll take up half the couch, right? But same thing, like the little dog I have now, and going to doggy daycare, taking him into doggy daycare so he gets socialized with other animals, with other dogs.
When we have a story like this, the typical penalty, we'll see what happens here. Early into the investigation, fines, the dog's put down. All these dogs have been put down already, and a ban on owning animals. Is that enough? If for a negligent dog owner, are these penalties severe enough in your opinion? What do you think?
I spent 25 years in Halifax. I know about previous issues with dog owners in Halifax over the years because I keep my ear to the ground, listen to the news and whatnot. So the SPCA and the RCMP do kind of get involved with certain people because of their own actions. And this is what I'm trying to lead into. It's not the dog's actions, it's the people's actions that are leading into the scenario or the situation where it, and like one of your previous callers just said, dogs can be protective, right? And I can tell even my dog, yeah, and if I'm scared, my dog can feel that energy, right? He picks up on that energy. So I don't understand. Sure. I'm not a human psychologist, nor am I a dog psychologist.
Well, it just sounds like you're an amateur dog psychologist, though, as we all are, I guess, participating in the show today. Look, it's been a fast hour of phone calls. There's a full hour just ahead. The news is next on News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
We've been talking about dangerous dogs, bad dog owners today with a terrible story out of Nova Scotia. 13-year-old boy in the 8th grade attacked by 3 dogs. The Nova Scotia RCMP just announcing 2 Cane Corsos, 1 Rottweiler involved in that attack, saying very little, citing the ongoing investigation. But we have been asking, are some dog breeds more dangerous than others, to the extent that maybe there should be a ban on certain breeds of dogs? In Ontario, for example, the only province with a breed ban on pit bull type dogs. That's really the only breed that is banned in Ontario. There are some municipalities across Canada at the municipal level that have breed bans in effect, but for the most part, animal control is based on the behavior of the animal. But is there such a thing as a bad dog breed or even a bad dog, or does it all come down to the owner of the dog? Just on the case in Nova Scotia, I hear a story like that. The news reporter in me has so many questions about it. They have now confirmed what kind of dogs were involved, but I would also want to know, how did they get free? How did it come to be that they were roaming in this area? What kind of property is it? Is it a farm? Is it an acreage? Is it a single family home? What kind of enclosures were there? Were there any? Were they secure? Were they flimsy? Were there none? Was this common for these dogs to be out roaming in this area? Were there any previous complaints? Were there any previous reported attacks involving these animals? Had law enforcement or animal control been to that property before? These are the kinds of questions I have just dealing with that terrible, terrible case out of southwestern Nova Scotia. Back to our phone lines now on Talkback, 1-833-668-2577. Todd is in Halifax. Hi, Todd.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, very good, Todd. Thanks for calling. What's your opinion here?
First, I want to say condolences to the family that lost their teenage son. That's a terrible thing to have happen.
Absolutely.
On top of that, I'm 45. I've had Rottweilers since I've been 20. I have a 15-year-old son, so I've had them around my son and his friends and our family ever since I've been with my wife for 20 years. And I get, yes, any dog can attack and do anything because you never know. But we have two Rottweilers and a Chihuahua, actually, and they're great. They've been brought up great, but still at the same time, you don't know if something's going to trigger them. If someone is uncomfortable being around our dogs, we make sure that we separate them and put them away. It's all you can do. But as far as my dogs go, they bark at the window if there's a car or a truck outside. They're alerting us to let us know that someone's here. But then the second that you walk in our door, they're all over you. They want to sit on your feet. They want you to pat them, and they're great animals. I believe dogs can tell when someone seems off or is scared, and they can read that. And I'm not saying that that's why they attack or anything like that, but that's definitely why they act differently. So I hear people on here going on about pit bulls and cane corsos. We know people that have cane corsos. My best friend has a Borbal. He's 160 pounds, and he is just the biggest gentle giant in the world. Rottweilers were actually bred to be sheep herders, just like other breeds. So I think it is maybe the way that they're bred raised and taken care of. But I mean, at the same time, if you want to have a dog that's that size and going to be off leash, I do think that you should have at least a fenced property. In case something like that were to happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
wouldn't don't you want to know? In this particular case in your province, don't you want to know about the details of the property and what was going on there?
Exactly,
that this
right? And
happened.
If I have a pool, I have to have my yard fenced because I have a pool for the safety of the children in the neighborhood, and I think it should also count as the same thing for if you want to have a dog. Maybe you have to start registering your dogs with the province or whoever, and to do that, then you have to have a fenced-in property, right? And I just wanted to call because I do have two Rottweilers. I've had them my whole life, and I got a Chihuahua, and she runs the roost over the two Rottweilers. She's the boss. But like I said, mine are. I know different people have different, types of Rottweilers or cane corsos or Burbals or pit bulls. But I just wanted to express our situation with ours and how
you've done that. You've done that. Thank you. I am a dog owner of a Springer Spaniel. I've often wondered. I personally, my own personal opinion, I don't see the attraction to owning these types of dogs, pit bull type dogs, cane corsos. Rottweilers may be a different story. I just don't see the appeal. Jared in Calgary. Jared. Hi, Jared.
Hey, Rob. How you doing?
Very good, Jared. Thank you. What's your opinion here?
So I have a Cane Corso myself. And so one thing is he's extremely intelligent. I've hardly had to train him. But one thing that I did do is, and I still do to this day, is I actually try and get him socialized with strangers outside. Because, well, like people talk about socializing their dogs, and if they only see like friends and family, they only know those people. So when they see a stranger, they don't know them. So they instantly can perceive that as a threat. And yeah, like he's great outside. He's actually escaped, and he'll just go say hi to the neighbors and stuff, and then come back to the house.
Okay.
But yeah, even
let me ask you just an honest opinion. And look, I've expressed my opinion. Why that dog? That is a big, powerful animal that you have there.
Yeah, he's
why,
actually
why
180
that?
pounds.
Of all the breeds that in the world, sir. Honestly, why?
Well, because
I'm
knew
just
that
curious.
they were,
I'm not. It's not a judgment.
smart.
Okay.
Yeah,
Smart.
and I
Okay.
wanted somebody to, like, I generally work in the oil patch, so I'm away from home a lot. So it'd be somebody like to guard the home when I'm gone, right?
A guard
and
dog.
Keep my wife, and keep my wife good companion and stuff. Right.
Fair enough. Thank you. Got to go. Thank you. Be right back with more of your calls on dogs and bad dog owners on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Is there such a thing as a bad dog, or some dog breeds more dangerous than others? Should there be a ban on some dog breeds? There's a pit bull ban in Ontario. Or is it all about who owns the dog? 1-833-668-2577. Dogs are topic of the day. Brandon, Vulcan County, Alberta. Brandon. Hi, Brandon.
Hey, what's going on, Big Rob?
Just another day at it,
How are
buddy. Asking some big questions today. What do you think? Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks.
Well, we own 9 dogs. And
9 dogs. My gosh.
Oh, yeah. We like the dogs. A couple big ones there, too. And absolutely, certain dogs are more dangerous than others. Absolutely. Having one of those big guard dogs is like having a gun. You can point that thing at somebody and have them just, you're not going to stop these dogs. They're faster, stronger. So they got to be trained diligently. And also they've got to be never at large, always on a leash. I've got a Bouvier de Flanders, and because we didn't always live on acreage, I don't even let him off leash here. His prey drive is so intense that I don't even want to see what he would do with all the chickens and the goats and the cats we've got. We've got 11 cats. Like, we do a petting zoo here. We've lived here for 6 years. He's never had that opportunity because we're diligent dog owners. He doesn't have an opportunity to get out of, even in our fenced acreage, he's still not able to do that because you can't trust a dog. I don't care. I'd never leave an infant with a dog, any size, and that's the truth. And also what people forget, those 3 dogs that went out there and mauled this poor human, that is atrocious. Dogs end up getting a pack mentality. I've seen it before. You might have a beautiful 2 dogs. You bring a 3rd one in there that decides to chase the cat or start some kind of shenanigans. It's very infectious. The dogs get riled, man. And it just turns it gets out of control real quick.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the penalties. That's another story and another angle to the story here. Fines, dogs put down. These dogs have all been put down. I don't know what's going to happen with this case, whether there will be criminal charges. It's all under investigation now. There's usually a ban. You can't own an animal for 10 years or 15 years or whatever the case might be. There are calls already. The penalties aren't severe enough in cases of negligent dog owners. What do you think?
Well, I really hope that a full investigation is done, just like you're saying. You're dialed in, man. We're going to have to look at everything this person's done. Were they slightly trained, if any? How does the yard look? How high were the fences? There's dogs out there that can hop an 8-foot fence right now. instantly. So, there's a whole bunch of things there, and it needs to be really weighed out. And if that person's found to be a lazy, negligent person, and he caused this to happen, that guy should be pinned, man. Pinned. Never to enjoy life again, because he just took someone's pride and joy from them, and that's a child.
Okay.
So, like I said,
9 dogs. 9 dogs.
Those large,
Yeah.
Those large dogs, Rob, are like
Yes.
walking around with a shotgun.
Yes.
They're that dangerous.
Good.
You can't tell me there's total difference. I've got Poopsies and I've got my Bouvier de Flanders. His name's Emmett. He's 100 pounds. In his prime, he was a bit heavier. But if he didn't want to do something, you're not making him do it.
Okay. Gonna have to run here, Brandon. Gonna have to run. Yeah, let you get back to the zoo. So why don't we stop and then we'll pick it up on the other side with Kalo and Ryan and Eric. You hang on the line as well in Halifax. And if you want it, we can fit you in. We have 2 or 3 lines available there as well. 1-833-668-2577 here on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
There are these dog attack stories, terrible dog attack stories in the news every now and then. This one of Nova Scotia making national news, raising again all kinds of questions that are so often raised when these sorts of stories hit the headlines, such as, are some dog breeds just too dangerous? Do they need to be regulated or even banned? The way Ontario's banned pit bulls. Whatever that's raised, there's a lot of pushback to that. A lot of people opposed to that. And they say, no, it's not about the dogs, it's about the owners. It really has nothing to do with the dogs. Your opinions, please, on the topic. To Kalo in Calgary. Thanks for waiting, Kalo.
Hello, how are you doing?
Very good, Kalo. Thank you. Hope you're well.
Yeah.
What's your opinion?
My opinion is having a dog, especially a large breed. I have one myself, and he's been very, very well behaved, obedient. At times, if a dog is ignored, then they will have behavior problems. And some people don't understand that what these dogs are capable of are giving a lot of love, encouragement, and they can also help people with post-traumatic stress disorder. I do feel for what happened on the east side there. It's very tragic. What the dog owners fail to realize is that they need work and effort and to be shown a lot of love and care. And the ones that are mean, vicious, are the ones that don't have that love and care to them. It's my opinion so far.
If I could, Kalo, you say you own a large breed of dog. What sort of dog, if you don't mind me asking?
He's half bulldog and half boxer, pit bull type, red nose, and he weighs. I weighed him at 77.3 pounds. That's what type of dog he is.
And you say he's well behaved. He's been well behaved. What did it take to reach that point for you and him, for you and your dog, that he behaves the way he does?
Thank you for asking that question. My wife actually never had a dog in her life before, so I do believe on that aspect it was helpful for the dog to understand that being obedient and showing that, okay, I'm going to have this love and this care as a female would show a lot of love and care, as for us males, we're more of the discipline and feeding. And as soon as that bond happened, which another caller was talking about, happened with my wife and the dog, he started to understand that there's two sides of aspect to owning a dog, especially male and female. And I do believe that really helped.
So you kind of had this good cop, bad cop thing kind of going.
not necessarily. We kind of talked about that too. But just the love and care really does help.
Love and care,
a dog
attention.
where it's supposed to be at.
Sure. Very good. Very good. Thank you for your call, Kalo. All the best to you. Ryan, up next in Calgary. Hello, Ryan. Not a lot of time here, Ryan.
Hey, Rob.
Hi, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. Basically, I just wanted to call in and say that I do believe that those pit bulls are more dangerous. Whether they're more aggressive or not, it's hard to say, but definitely, like, if you're going to get bit by a dog that is going to be able to rip your arms off is going to be more dangerous.
So if that's the case, and again, I come back to this, when they compile statistics on dog bites and dog attacks, there's a disproportionate number that involve pit bulls. But does that mean you ban the pit bull? What would you say to that?
Well, I agree with the previous caller that said, like, how do you legally do that? Genetically speaking, like, what's a pit bull and what isn't? I don't know, but you can see a dog that looks like a pit bull, and I'm not really a dog person, but you see them and they look like the pit bull. Like, so I don't know. Yeah, how are you going to ban a dog? It's hard to say. One thing that you do, one observation I have made is the people that have pit bulls, they usually have a certain kind of look and demeanor to them.
Yeah, that's come up as well. In the home stretch now of Talkback, we have been talking about dogs and dog owners, dangerous dogs, bad dog owners. Right back to our phone calls. Let's go to Eric is in Halifax. Hello, Eric. Thanks for calling, Eric.
How you doing?
Yeah, very good, Eric. Happy New Year to you.
I got 3 marks on my left leg below my kneecap from a relative's dog, and that same dog attacked their niece. They finally had to put it down. I don't trust any dogs, and I fear them. If I see something, like an aggressive dog, I try to get away. I try to go away from that particular situation because some dogs are more aggressive than others. Now, I said to Curtis, and I'm going to say it to you, what if the person that died was the child of the persons that owned the dogs? I bet you they would be screaming blue murder today. I mean, those dogs should never have been allowed to roam around as free as they were. Not knowing the circumstances, I'm sure that the kid on the bike wasn't being aggressive to them. So, I mean, it's a very, very complicating scenario. But as far as bans go, yeah, I would ban the pit bull because they're very, very aggressive. I mean, they rather fight than switch type thing. I don't know how you feel about it. You're asking a lot of questions.
If I could ask you, Eric, the dog that attacked you and then attacked a family member of yours, what type of dog was it? Was it a mutt?
Chow.
Was it a
chow?
Okay, yeah. I have heard that they can be aggressive as well. Those dogs.
Yeah. This one here, I got the marks to prove it. Every time I go in the shower or anything like that, I look down at these 3 marks, and it brings back a lot of bad memories. And it's just terrible what happened to that young guy. And I go back to the same question: what if the guy that died was the child of the people that owned those dogs? And that's the main question that I have to ask today.
I'll be very curious to see what happens with the investigation down there near Shelburne, and the circumstances surrounding this for sure.
I'm going
Eric,
to
thank you for your call. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Eric. Sure.
Okay, I was going with this lady friend out in Porter's Lake, which is in Nova Scotia, and we went to this house, and the dogs were very, very aggressive. They had, as a matter of fact, they had to lock them in a room. That's how bad these dogs were. So, it's up to the individual. They shouldn't have dogs that are that aggressive. And that's the bottom line. I can't say it any better than what I've said in the last few minutes.
All right. Fair enough. Thank you, Eric. And good to hear you this year. to Guelph, Ontario. Jeff is in Guelph. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, very good, Jeff. I hope you're well as well.
I am actually. My view on this is it comes right down to the owners. And I go back to what Cesar Milan said. He said back in the 70s, we were afraid of German Shepherds, and we were afraid of Dobermans, and we were afraid of Rottweilers. Now we're afraid of Pit Bulls. It comes right down to the ownership of the dog. I had a dog for 13 and a half years before I had to put her down. That dog was a loving dog. She was welcome practically everywhere I went. And it was just because, like the one caller called in and said that, you've got to bond with the dog. And I took that time to bond with her, get her to understand my language and my feelings. And, like the last caller called in, very sympathetic to him. I'm sorry he had a bad experience with dogs. But personally, I'm a dog lover, and so I really feel that people should take into account that dogs are a huge responsibility, and if you're not able to take on that responsibility, then you shouldn't have the animal.
Very good. Thank you for your call. Let's go to Stephanie in Calgary. Stephanie, thanks for calling, Stephanie.
Hi, Rob. Can you hear me this time?
Yeah, hear you just fine, Stephanie. Thanks for calling back. Appreciate that.
Thanks. So I wanted to mention that, I've heard a lot of people say that it's the dog owner that is the problem with these problematic dogs. My husband and I actually behavioral euthanized our German Shepherd a little over a year ago because he was showing aggression to our family. It is up to the dog owners to know these dogs' triggers, to know that, something could possibly happen. We didn't wait for the first bite. I said to my husband, my children's faces are far too important. A lot of these dog owners, they do wait for the first bite. And I know it's not necessarily any telltale signs, but with the training, our previous German Shepherd prior to this one we had who had behavioral issues, he was an award-winning German Shepherd. So we had taken steps to properly train this dog. But the vets that euthanized him said that mental illness runs in dogs much as well as humans.
Oh, really? Okay. That's very interesting. Now, had you had this dog for a while before it started to display aggression, or was it just shortly after you got this new dog? Or
we euthanized him at 5 years, and it took 5 years for us to come up with this decision, knowing that there were so many triggers. He was just not right in the head.
Just wasn't right in the head. Isn't that something?
Yeah, and we did, it was shot-colored fence. It was different types of training. It was going to the vet to figure out what we could do next and trying to rehome. And it ended up having to go that route.
But again, you didn't wait for the first attack to take place. As you say, you took the responsibility yourself, and it's always... Yeah, I've been there. Yeah. It's a tough decision to put down a dog. That's one of the toughest days.
Especially when there's nothing physical wrong with them. But it was just that got to the point where we did not feel safe in our home. So,
wow.
Responsible dog owners should make that decision as hard as it is.
Thank you for your call, Stephanie. Glad we fit you in on Talkback today. More time to take more of your calls on dogs and dog owners today on Talkback on News Radio.
Something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Is there such a thing as a bad dog? Are some dog breeds more dangerous than others? What about banning certain dog breeds, pit bull type dogs, cane corsos, or is it all about the owner of the dog? Share your thoughts on Talkback today. It's been a popular topic. Zach in Calgary. Zach is up next. Hi, Zach.
Hi, Rob. I wanted to apologize for yesterday. My intention wasn't to evade your question. I just started hearing the music.
That's
play,
okay. Let's not revisit yesterday. Let's talk about today, Zach. Let's stay focused.
Oh,
here,
yeah, no
okay?
worries.
Yep. Don't worry about that.
So I'll quickly answer your questions here, and then full disclosure, I love dogs. Do I think they're bad dogs? No. Dogs aren't moral agents like people, which is why we don't put them on trial or give them charter rights. Do I think some breeds are more dangerous than others? Absolutely. I think that's common sense. Anyone can see that. Do I think the owner is primarily responsible? Yes, and the laws should be much stricter. And then the last one was, should you be able to have any breed of dog, especially in a community with others? Definitely not. I think we need to be prudent about our laws and communities.
So you would support something like a pit bull ban?
Yeah, there is some good points from other people. It's tough with specific breeds, I guess. I don't know if it'd be easier to, it's one of those things, when you see it. You see dogs with bigger teeth, they're heavier. Maybe you go by weight, or maybe you go by, like the statistics that we gather. But especially when you're in a community with, children, it's just, I don't see, we ban other animals. We can't have wild animals. We can't have wolves. People can't have any type of cat they want. So I think we should be prudent with the types of dogs we allow in communities.
Okay. Very interesting, Zach. Thanks for the call. Let's take another one. Joe is in Calgary. Hi, Joe. Hello, Joe.
Hello?
I have you, Joe. If you hear me, let's get it on here.
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Very good.
Well, let me just say, I'm a Rottweiler owner. I've got second of 2 Rottweilers I've owned, and I love the breed. They're absolute dogs, and their origins are from Italy, where the soldiers and whoever it was bred them to take care of their families while they went off to war and stuff. They're absolutely a great dog. And there are a lot of other dogs out there that are really great too, including pit bulls. I had a neighbor that had a pit bull when I had my other Rottweiler, and the biggest issue we had was when they always crashed into the fences and broke the fence. It was whose turn is it to fix it, right? But I think really what should happen is not banning dogs, but we license people to drive vehicles. We license them to do all kinds of things, fly an airplane. A person should have to have a license to own a dog like that. I wouldn't mind going to take a course, so I'm licensed to own a Rottweiler. I think that's the responsible way to treat it and not discourage the breed. Because like one of your previous callers said, you've got every dog out there is capable of having mental issues, right? So if the owner's well-versed in how to handle those dogs, then like she said, you know what? You would be the responsible owner. Okay, I've got a dog that's crazy. I'm going to put it down, right?
Okay. So, what would I've been thinking about this. A course. If I want to own, you say certain kinds of dogs, maybe all dogs. What are you covering in a course like that? What's in a course like that?
I would say basic training, obedience training,
basic training,
discipline, all that kind of stuff, right?
Okay. Yep.
I actually have taken training courses before when I got my first Rottweiler, and realistically, you're not training the dog. You're the one being trained in how to train the dog. I found it very interesting and very, very helpful too.
Okay. Excellent. Do you have any thoughts on what may have triggered this Rottweiler to be part of this attack in Nova Scotia?
Oh, was it a Rottweiler? I didn't hear your whole broadcast.
One of them was two cane corsos and a Rottweiler.
Oh, wow. Those are powerful dogs, man. Yeah, I don't know what the issue was there or the story was. I only heard briefly about it, and my condolences to that family that lost their child. That's horrible.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Thank you for your call. Just thought I'd pick your brain on that as the owner of a Rottie there. Okay. We'll fit as many in as we can today. Phone lines have been ringing off the hook on this one. Dogs and the people who own them on Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
On bad dogs, bad dog breeds, or bad owners of dogs. Gordon, east of Calgary today. Hi, Gordon.
How you doing today?
Yeah, very good, Gordon. Good to hear from you. Hope you're well.
Yeah,
What's your opinion?
Okay, I'm 77, and we've had dogs since I was a kid. Fox Terriers, Border Collies, Labs, German Shepherds, and the only dog we had a problem was a Border Collie, and he turned into a fear biter, which was when they'll see a stranger, he'll come up behind them and nip their heels. And they could break it, the one lady said, but what caused it is he was the runt of the litter. When it comes to getting breakfast or lunch or chow, all the other pups would push him aside, and he had to bite him to get him to turn around so he could get something to eat. And she said, I can break him, but it's going to take at least a year or two of intensive therapy. Well, I didn't have time, and then we ended up with a German Shepherd, and that thing would kill you with love. He was an awesome. My daughter-in-law picked up a Shepherd a while ago. Carol couldn't keep. And that dog is such an awesome dog. He's friendly. Like, his bark is worse than his bite. And he'll scare anybody. But once you put your hand out to him, look out. He'll lick you to death. It's a hell of a dog. It all depends on the owner and how the dog is trained. Like the last Shepherd I had, I went to obedience lessons with him. Well, I didn't get a chance to work with him that much. When we went back every week, he remembered more than what I did. He taught me. Shepherds are a good dog if they're brought up properly.
Where do you stand on there will be calls because of this news story for bans on certain types of dogs, that some breeds are just more dangerous than others. It doesn't sound as though you're convinced of that. What do you think?
There should be a ban on the people that don't know how to raise the dogs and train them.
Should be a ban on the people. Okay. Yeah, if only it were that easy. All right, Gordon. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Gordon, good to hear from you. I think we have time for one more. I think Nick is going to get the last word today. Hi, Nick. You're on Talkback.
Yeah. Hey, Rob. How are you doing today?
Yeah, very good, Nick. Thank you.
Good. So I just wanted to bring up the fact that, okay, I've heard bits and pieces of this story, and it's really sad, but you can't blame the dogs when the owner has, what was it, 2 king horses and a Rottweiler going out at the same time. Like, I have a 120-pound lab cross Bernese Mountain Dog who is the nicest dog around, but I can't walk him and my Border Collie cross Husky at the same time because I know that I can't, if something were to happen, I'm not strong enough to hold them both back. But they're both great dogs, but I am an aware owner that if I am going to take them out, I have to do it separately. And my Border Collie cross Husky, she has high herding instincts, and she was brought up around my daughter, and she would nip at her heels when my daughter would go near the stairs and stuff like that. And she also nips at kids on bikes, and not nips at, well, tries to. And because I know that, you know, you be aware, and if you see someone on a bike, you stop, you take your dog off to the side, make sure the leash is short enough so that the person can get by, and then you move on with your day. And so I believe a lot of this just has to do with owners, and there needs to be better dog owners out there. That's all.
Better dog owners. Yeah, that seems to be the consensus today. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who participated in the show today. Great discussion. We'll be right back at it tomorrow with a brand new topic, more of your calls, and always the latest breaking news coming up next on News Radio.